Hello and welcome to another episode of the Abundantly More podcast. I am Hannah Lynn Miller, your host, and today we're diving into a really important topic that affects many new mothers that are expecting their second. This can be just anyone who is in that season of pregnancy and newborn life, which I found myself in, navigating postpartum life and the mental health challenges that can come with it. And I just wanted to touch on this because I think it's really important. And also, I'm not like a doula, I'm not a medical provider. So I want to just start with saying that this is purely counseling related, and this podcast is not considered counseling. So to get professional help that counts, it would be sitting down with a mental health therapist. Just wanted to put that out there first off, and we can talk about just the data. We can talk about what would help. And I also wanted to just let you know what is postpartum depression, just in case, so that you know kind of the symptoms to look out for. So that's what we're going to be covering in this podcast, right? So, and I wanted to start by sharing a bit of my personal experience. Going through postpartum changes were hard for me, and it felt like it was just as hard as carrying my baby for that first year. I had to get used to the idea of breastfeeding and pumping, and I really struggled on how to know what to eat, and I struggled a lot with managing my blood pressure, which is crazy to look back on because once I got pregnant, I don't know if it was just my hormones balanced out or what, but postpartum and breastfeeding, my blood pressure just made me really tired and weak, and I struggled to breathe. It was just a not fun experience. So postpartum was tough for me for sure, but mentally I felt good. And so I think that is something to keep in consideration, because every time that you have a baby, it could be totally different. So understanding what to look out for when your mental health is also suffering along with the physical, which just is so hard. And then throwing in there that you're barely sleeping because you're adjusting to waking up throughout the night to feed a newborn baby, right? While it's such a wonderful time, like it was truly magical for me, it can also be really, really difficult. And that's what I want to talk about today in this episode, the mental health challenges that many women face during postpartum period and how we can better support moms. Okay, so let's talk about some of the common mental health challenges that can happen during the postpartum period. So anxiety disorders are extremely common during this time. New moms will experience intrusive thoughts about their baby's safety, excessive worry about their parenting abilities, and physical symptoms like a racing heart or difficulty sleeping. The constant pressure to do everything right, combined with sleep deprivation, can intensify these anxiety symptoms, making it difficult for mothers to relax and enjoy their new role. Many women also experience significant identity shifts and adjustment disorders. Adjustment disorder is a very broad term that comes with just getting used to a new life season, and that definitely comes with becoming a new mom. The dramatic change in daily routines, relationships, a sense of self can be really overwhelming, because all of a sudden you're like, okay, I knew that this was going to be hard, but the emotional part of it, or that it's going to be exciting, it's going to be new, this is going to feel different, like all of those things are true, but when it actually hits, it's like, wow, my whole, everything kind of revolved around me and my career or my friendships, and now you're like, okay, which friendships are going to support me the best? Which ones are going to not take up a ton of energy? It's just everything kind of shifts, right? So the dramatic change in daily routines, the relationships, right? Some mothers experience grief over the loss of their previous lifestyle. Maybe they decide, hey, this newborn baby really needs me, and like I don't think I can return to work. Like, it's a great, beautiful decision, but it also, it comes with some grief. And I always tell clients, like, every change comes with some sort of grief, even if it is the most magical, beautiful thing. And that's okay. Both things can exist at the same time. Your social connections can definitely change. I mean, mostly I found if you have a lot of single friends without children and then you end up having a baby, it's hard to keep up with those social connections, right? Or maybe you have some friendships. Maybe you were, I'm speaking from experience, the eldest daughter. And so you had a lot of friends that took up a lot of energy because you were okay with giving that. And now you're pouring into your newborn and you're realizing I don't have the capacity to be kind of that person, right? That person who just continually gives. And that can be a rude awakening to your friendships. It can be a rude awakening to you, to your partner. You're realizing all of a sudden for the first time in your life that you actually need support. And that is very relatable. I understand. And then at the same time, you're trying to embrace this new role as a parent. Like, what does that look like? And then if you have a partner or, a spouse and you're like, okay, this is what it is. Like, what does our relationship look like during this time, right? So there's so many things that can go into this transitional period right after having a baby, especially for new moms, right? I think when you're going into having 1 to 2 children and this is your second, I think it looks a little bit different. You're a little bit more adjusted. But then I think for me, it's processing the fact that, it's not going to be just me and my daughter anymore. Like, there's going to be another little baby to take care of. And there's some grief in that too. Like, am I going to be able to love this little one as much as I love Rayma? And that can be kind of emotional too, right? So I think maybe for the second, it revolves around the fact that you now have 2 children to look after. And that first relationship changes in a good way, but it definitely changes, right? So there can be some grief in that. Let me share some eye-opening statistics, and you can always I always try to link the studies in the show notes. It's also on my blog. If you go to hannahlynnmiller.com and then you click the one that is all about postpartum, you will find the studies that I'm quoting from. Up to 20% of women experience some form of perinatal mood disorder during pregnancy or within a year of giving birth, and only 15% of women with postpartum depression receive professional treatment, despite the condition being highly treatable. So it means that like a lot of women are not actually getting the professional treatment that they really do need. I think it's still really taboo to talk about or understand that these things are actually, yes, they might be hormonally related, but they're also related to mental health, right? So you can talk to a mental health provider. Postpartum depression generally lasts 3 to 6 months, though this varies based on several factors. Nearly 50% of mothers with postpartum depression are not diagnosed by a health professional. So again, like, yes, this might be related to your physical health, right? But and your hormones, but like this is something that you go to a mental health provider for. 80% of women with postpartum depression will achieve a full recovery with proper support. So this doesn't last forever. If these are some symptoms that you are going to be experiencing, I'm going to read off the symptoms soon. But if you have the feeling that maybe that this is possibly postpartum depression that you're experiencing, it's not going to last forever, right? And I think the important thing is getting that support. Risk factors include a history of depression, lack of social support, pregnancy complications, and significant life stressors. So like if a partner lost a job, you lost a job, there was a death in the family, those things are just something to take note of and just prepare ahead of time. Like, okay, these things have happened. I am pregnant. I want to be preventative and make sure that my mental health is going okay. I think too that lack of social support. I always say with counseling, like especially if people are not understanding like why counseling, like why do people go? I always explain that a lot of times you go when you don't feel like you have the social support that you need. And that can happen for a lot of people in different stages of life. You move away, you don't have people in your corner, and going to counseling is a great way to create that social support for yourself. Over 60% of women who took their own life during the postpartum period had not seen a mental health care provider within the month leading up to their death. So again, this is very serious. Symptoms often emerge within the first few weeks of childbirth, but can appear anytime during that first year. So even if you're experiencing some depression 6 months after or a few months after, like definitely that's still a time to take care of yourself. Over the past decade, suicide attempts during and after pregnancy have nearly tripled. So again, this is like a very serious topic. This is something to take seriously, right? Studies have found that 50% of men who have partners diagnosed with postpartum depression will also go on to develop depression themselves. And that's from postpartumdepression.org. I just throw that in there because I think sometimes we don't know what, our partner is experiencing, like a husband, like what they might be experiencing too. And sometimes it can be delayed. Like once you've recovered and you're like feeling back to yourself, then all of a sudden your partner is not doing well and you're like, why? And it's very normal. 50% of men who have partners diagnosed with PPD will develop depression themselves. And I just found that statistic very interesting and something to take note of, especially because it can be really confusing. Like you went through all these life changes, these hard things, and then you look over and your partner's struggling too. And it can feel really like, okay, what's wrong with you? But it does affect our partners, right? One of the most significant challenges that a new mother can face is the postpartum depression, or PPD, which affects approximately 17 to 21% of pregnant women. Again, I think that this is really unreported. I just think that there's not a lot of, I think women experience this a lot more than what they even realize. This condition goes beyond the typical baby blues, and it can manifest as persistent sadness, overwhelming anxiety, difficulty bonding with the baby, and feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness. Many women will silently struggle with PPD, feeling that shame or guilt about their emotions during what's supposed to be a joyful time. And if this is something that you're experiencing, please don't hesitate to reach out for help. Like this is a serious thing. And you can start therapy. I have it on my website. It's very easy to get to, hannahlynnmiller.com/therapy. Just send me an email. If you're in the Chicagoland area, I know BetterHelp is also a really good resource for quick and an easy way to find therapists that is in your state. Okay, so now we're going to go into do I have postpartum depression? So this is the DSM-5 symptoms. Again, this is not for you to self-diagnose. This is for you to just be aware and go to a mental health professional. If you feel like these are symptoms that you have, then this is a time to take it seriously, right? So according to the DSM-5, postpartum depression is classified under major depressive disorder with peripartum onset. If symptoms occur during pregnancy or within 4 months or 4 weeks following delivery, that's like the time frame, okay? But many clinicians will recognize that symptoms can appear anytime within that first year postpartum. So to be diagnosed with postpartum depression, according to the DSM-5 criteria, a woman must experience 5 or more of the following symptoms during the same 2-week period, representing a change from previous functioning, with at least one of the symptoms being either depressed mood, or 2, a loss of interest or pleasure. So if like things that you used to enjoy no longer are things that you enjoy, like that's a good representation of, okay, you might have some depression, right? So 5 of these symptoms, right? So depressed mood most of the day, nearly every day, marked diminished interest or pleasure in most of your activities that you used to like and enjoy, significant weight loss or weight gain, or a decrease in appetite or an increase in appetite. And that's kind of hard with breastfeeding to know, honestly. Insomnia or hyperinsomnia nearly every day. So if you're sleeping too much or you're really like anxious and not sleeping at all, and I know that, again, you're feeding your baby, so it's hard to really figure that out. But if it's really a problem where you're not sleeping, like you're just wide awake even when your baby is sleeping, then that's probably something to really pay attention to. Agitation nearly every day, so that just means like maybe just feeling super agitated. I think that even that could mean more of having some anger and aggression, fatigue or loss of energy during every day, feelings of worthlessness or excessive or inappropriate guilt. So feeling really guilty for like everything that you're doing, diminished ability to think or concentrate, or indecisiveness. So just really not having the ability to make decisions quickly, reoccurring thoughts of death, reoccurring suicidal ideation without a specific plan, suicide attempt, or a specific plan for committing suicide. So all those are just like different levels, but they're all in kind of that suicidal ideation category that we really want to take seriously. Additionally, these symptoms must cause significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning, not be attributable to psychological effects of substance and other medical conditions, and also not be better explained by other mental disorders. So that just means that this is like precedented. It's probably the only thing going on. And it's important to note that postpartum depression differs from baby blues, right? Which can affect 80% of mothers and typically resolves in like 2 weeks without treatment. Postpartum depression is a lot more severe, lasts longer, and truly requires professional intervention. 50% of postpartum major depressive episodes actually begin prior to delivery, and thus these episodes are referred to collectively as peripartum episodes. And women with peripartum major depressive episodes often have severe anxiety and panic attacks. Prospective studies have demonstrated that mood and anxiety symptoms during pregnancy, as well as the baby blues, increase the risk for a postpartum major depressive episode. It's right there in the DSM-5. It's very interesting that it doesn't even have its own category, but it is attached to a major depressive disorder. If you found any of these symptoms to resonate, I would highly recommend talking to a professional counselor or therapist. Okay, so for next steps, the good news is that there is tons of treatment support that you can get your hands on. Most women recover successfully from postpartum mental health challenges. Treatment options may include medication when it's appropriate, support groups and peer counseling, self-care strategies and lifestyle modifications, individual or group therapy sessions. And I'm a big fan of that last one. I really am. Understanding the symptoms of PPD and perinatal mood and anxiety disorders is the first step to protecting yourself against developing mental health challenges in postpartum period. These statistics highlight the importance of mental health awareness and support during the postpartum period. Regular screening, early intervention, and reducing stigma around seeking help during that stage, right, are crucial steps in supporting mothers in every stage and their mental health. If you are a mom struggling with your mental health, please remember that you're not alone and it's not your fault. Reaching out for help is a sign of strength, not weakness at all. If you're a friend or family member of a mom who you see might be struggling, check in on them. Sometimes just having someone to talk to can make all the difference. And that is really true. And that's why talk therapy is so helpful, because sometimes you don't have that. Thank you for joining me for this important conversation. In the description, I have a PDF guide on how to prepare for postpartum. It has books, podcasts, resources, important facts, and all you need to know to be mentally healthy during that special time with your baby. Thank you for listening to the Abundantly More podcast, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share if you find this episode helpful. Until then, I will see you in the next episode.